Yay. All right, I think we're live.
We live?
We're live and we're recording, and it's 5:29. Yay! And nobody's here.
Well, after you're done with that, can I log on to your phone?
Nope. Well, besides Nicole. She said
She wasn't coming?
she's out of country.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they went to India. All right, it should show up. Do you need the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know, I'm worried that the flight will get delayed tomorrow, that's my problem. Because who knows how much it's gonna say, did they say how much it's signed up for tonight?
I asked her. No.
As long as it's not canceled, it's okay. I don't care. Thanks again for this, man. You know, it's just never know. You never know.
Hi, Stephanie. Oh,
Hi, Lori, how are you?
that was before the break, right?
Well, I'm gonna be soon, but, my plane is set.
This one's full tonight, 13. I was just like, can I just sit in my house and not be bored? I just don't, the chill and the whole pursuit.
Get back to home.
So cool.
Good?
Okay.
Good.
It's called
Texting like, can you bring you a tea? And we'll go to the house.
Western Oaks. It is a location. It's a small spot. You know what we also really like to really close to is Asadero on between Lincoln and Western. Yeah.
I feel like whenever you guys are
Somewhere. We used to go to Wisconsin. We were supposed to be up to it, and now they're like straight out. Like, my ex-husband sold to me in the store. Oh, watch out this one.
That was the boys' uncle got them there. And we were like, that was the first time I felt really old. Because you have to like.
All right.
You're sitting at the
Everybody good?
you know, yours is the one to learn.
That was great.
And then But then
Okay.
there's just all this different stuff. You know, normally it's like Sega, you just plug it in, put in the aux, and then put in the output.
Yeah, no, those two is okay. All right, miss it.
Good?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 5:34. I'd like to welcome you to our Peirce Local School Council regular meeting. Matthew Kwame. It's been a while. Happy New Year, everyone, officially. I'm sure everybody enjoyed the ridiculous cold weather over the past couple of days. Luckily, all that is behind us. So we'll get started. Before we get into the meeting, I'd like to go over our norms. So throughout the meeting, we will pledge to be an active, engaged, contributing participant by sharing perspective and actively listening to others. Be flexible and respectful of others' time and decisions. Be open to other people's truths and perspectives. Be reminded of differences in cultural and social backgrounds. Be transparent about concerns, challenges, and misunderstandings. Be reflective, collaborative, and supportive. Always take the work back to student achievement and what can we do to make things better for our students, both academically and socio-emotionally. To respect student, staff, and LSC member confidentiality unless there's a threat to safety. Meetings should be paused if LSC members or meeting participants experience harm due to their identity, including but not limited to gender, sexual orientation, race, etc. The harm should be named. I would understand that not everything has a right now solution, and trust that the process is ongoing. With that, I'd like to do a roll call. Matthew Kwame, parent rep.
Lori Zaney, principal. Anna Toliko, teacher.
Adult Lewis, no stuff.
Lindsay Moon, parent rep.
Byron Adams, community rep.
Jane, community rep. Keith Wilson, parent rep.
Kathleen Hayes, parent rep.
Rocky Doria, parent rep.
Thank you. Nicole Granicki, vice chair, reached out. She will not be able to attend this meeting. And we also are still missing our, so we can check it out. Yeah. Very good. Second item on the agenda is the approval of the order of the agenda. So I'd like to make a motion, or first of all, any discussion? It's pretty light. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the order of the agenda I've shared with council members and the committee.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Discussion. Thank you. The motion passes. We have only a couple items needing council approval. The first one, which is an ongoing, is to allow LSC members to join the meeting remotely. Nobody asked for that option this time around, but we have that in there. So I think we can just skip it. There's nothing going on. So the second item is the approval of the minutes from the November 16th regular meeting. That was our last meeting. I believe it's been 2 months already. Rafi, thank you for sharing those minutes with us. Any discussion about the minutes? So I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 16th regular meeting.
Second.
So all in favor?
I'll abstain, because I
Yep.
wasn't here.
Sure. All right. Motion passes. So next item on the agenda. So again, we haven't had the opportunity to meet with our student representative, so Laura's going to check with her. And technically, 3 consecutive meetings, and so we'll see what's up. All right, we're going to go straight into the next item, the principal's report.
All right. So I won't touch upon every item that's in the principal's report, but, open the questions after I'm finished highlighting a couple of the things that are here. At a previous meeting, there was sort of a wondering of how many newcomers we've welcomed at Peirce over the year. The number that are welcomed and enrolled right now is, I think, now at 23. I think we had 4 more enrolled this week. And so that would be, I think, 14 since winter break, but then we had several students come in and leave, and we don't have what that exact number is, like year to date of how many students have come in and gone. And then Mr. Lerner had highlighted that 11 students of what was originally that 19 earlier in the week have come from South America, Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia. And most have lived or passed through Colombia, even though it's not necessarily their country of origin. And we continue to expect to see that number increase. The CIWP team met on December 6th, and there was discussion around the goals, and there was agreement by the team for priority 1 to shift the prior student groups from all to African American and to keep English language learner. And so below is what will be presented to the council to vote on at the February meeting. But just wanted to share that this was the revision recommendation now, and that I wanted to make sure everybody had time to review it, and then we will, formally vote on it in February. Kim Leibovitz had an idea, as we've been thinking about student voice, ways to increase student voice in the IEP process. And so she started to meet with the special ed team, and started to have some students pilot, having them present or put together some type of presentation if they don't want to attend the IEP meeting, on sharing who they are as a learner, what progress have they made, what do they see as their goals to incorporate their perspective through the process. So that's something that we'll continue to work through. It's just at the very beginning stages, but I think this will be a really great step forward for us. This is the time of year where we start planning for the following school year. So they're running the current school year while preparing. And so I've shared with teachers the school year 25 budget request document for them to put down any materials that they think they'll need for next school year. And also sent out what's called a teacher preference sheet. And that's where teachers can indicate if they plan to return next year, if they are unsure if they're returning, or if they definitely know they're not returning. And that helps in making earlier hiring decisions. There have been several special education staff schedules that have been revised over the last couple of months. And I currently have a request, not just initially it was 1, but yesterday morning I submitted a request for 2 additional. So it would be a total of 3 special ed classroom assistants based on revisions to student IEPs. So I should be hearing on the 1 initial request by early next week, and then the second request for 2 additional within the next 2 weeks. Mr. Lee and I began meeting with the district's virtual academy team to start thinking about the advanced math options for next school year, and we provided feedback to them on things that we thought would work, things that we'd like to see shifted, but they were looking for schools that had large enrollment in order to, really think about what the needs could be for the following school year. I had linked in the document that I emailed out some PYP updates along with the newsletter that also includes MYP updates from the teachers. Hi there. No worries. You feel free to walk around. Yeah. So just links sort of to share the curriculum updates that have been going out to the school community. And the arts team did a wonderful job putting together the winter performances. I was not here, but I heard a lot of really good feedback, and then some questions about how we can continue to improve it as we prepare for the spring and the following school year. But it was nice for them to have that back in person again, because it had been so long since that was available. We're about halfway through the REACH teacher observation process for the school year, And today and tomorrow, students are completing the middle of the year STAR. We'll be able to look at what our goals were in the school improvement plan and where are we at middle of the year and what shifts might we need to make as we enter into the second half of the year. The PSO hosted a breakfast for staff right before winter break, and I heard that was also a great hit. And staff are always so appreciative of the love that they feel from that. And then in my absence, Ms. Munoz was able to lead the second committee chair meeting of the year for parent groups to share sort of the work that's been happening and then what they have planned for the rest of the school year. In terms of hiring, we had one vacant special ed classroom assistant position because a staff member had resigned. Lisa Torres, who's been on site since the beginning of the year as a sub SICA, was hired full-time to fill that role. From the 2 bilingual classroom assistant positions that were approved at the November meeting, Claret Campos, who's a Peirce parent and former participant in the equity committee, along with the Bilingual Advisory Council, has been staffed as of yesterday and began today in the one position, and then the second position now has a formal offer, and we are starting the process to get that person staffed. So both of those positions would be filled. Ms. Sanchez, part of the first grade team, and Ms. Cruz, who's on a special classroom assistant, both are on short-term leave of absence. And then Sarah Batowski is joining the preschool team in pre-K room 123 as the full-time teacher, replacing Ms. Elgato, who had left teaching before winter break. And Ms. Maria Hernandez Martin had just began after winter break to fill the position for K3 Spanish. The next CIWP team check-in meeting is scheduled for March 6th, so the team will be able to meet and review progress from quarter 2 to quarter 3. And school was closed this past Tuesday due to the temperature, but this day will not be made up by the district. The district is compensating teachers for not having to come that day. And then because there's extra days built into the calendar, they've decided to just not add in an extra day. 2 things that I did not include that I wanted to highlight is that the LSC application deadline is February 8th. And we currently have no parents or staff members that have applied. So if you all are considering running again, please get your applications in before February 8th. And then we'll monitor to see where we might need to do some outreach to other families. I know we'll have a couple of vacancies next year as well.
Do you know why they moved the date back? It's usually March.
I think they're trying to really push things forward so that we can actually I think they're just trying to get ahead of it.
Okay. So that really in March, they'll say that's really the deadline.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because they do that too, they extend it.
Yeah, maybe. I think they're really
I was
trying to-
surprised to see that in your email. I was like, February.
Yeah, they've been very active in setting out a lot of communication, which is new. I'm not used to seeing that much communication coming around. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight is that Tuesday at 5:30, the district is holding a regional facilities roundtable meeting at the school that has a virtual and in-person component. So they'll be looking at, I think, this entire region on the north end and the capital improvement needs and what families are seeing as needs within this region, not just Peirce, but just the entire northeast region. So that's Tuesday, 5:30. And there's no budget or leasing agreement request this month. But those were my updates. So any questions?
What is dean support?
Yeah, I heard that.
Dean support is requesting the Shelton Jackson. When you're the district has it labeled as escalated to whatever your dean is. We don't call Mr. Jackson a dean, we call him a sort of practices coach.
I have a question too about the discipline data. I asked this question at the CIWC quarterly meeting and heard from Mr. Jackson
But I wanted to just hear your take on it too. I asked what are the key strategies that you and Rudy and the administration are using to try to ameliorate
Yeah.
the disproportionate discipline, especially of Black students.
What did we share at that meeting?
I'm gonna be fuzzy. My brain is kind of mushy right now. But it sounded to me like there was a focus on sort of working more intensively with teachers who have more referrals of Black students and trying to focus their attention more on the relationship they have with those students.
Yeah, so that's correct. When we did our review of data, there were two different communications that went out to staff. One or three, I should say. One is just broad, this is where our data is at, and some reflective questions, focusing on relationships in particular, focusing on non-punitive, ways of approaching situations. And then there were two different other levels of follow-up. One is to send an email, and this was done, just because of time, to say, thank you for the work that you're doing in reviewing the data. We are not seeing this discrepancy, so it's important that we recognize where it's not happening and continue to celebrate that. And then a second layer of follow-up. There, in this particular round, there was one teacher who's a new teacher, where we saw an over-referral, and so just wanting to make sure that we're going in more intentionally to observe, provide feedback, and have an explicit meeting with Mr. Jackson, the teacher, and Ms. Randall. And then there was another one where we saw one of our grade level teams having an over-referral, and so reaching out to the team so that we could meet and review the referrals that have been going on. So that's sort of as a response, but also can potentially impact future data. The other is continuing to stress our own development and awareness of bias. And so continuing that thinking and training and the conscious raising process, doing that work with our staff.
What does that work consist of now? I know that I'm telling you, my brain. The amazing consultant we had, right?
We had Dr. Fisher. So Dr. Fisher was here and she was coming in regularly. Yeah. This year we've been working a lot with Facing History. Okay. And so Facing History came into the school-wide PD. Right now they're not scheduled for the February session, but they were here at the beginning of the year and then the second PD session of the year. And then, it's sort of this ongoing work that happens. We're sending some teachers to training, some of it is coaching, some of it is school-wide PD. So it's there's different entry points, and some of it is teachers doing the work on their own also.
Thank you.
On your report, there's a link to a revised LSC principal evaluation tool. You need something from us?
Well, I know, so I have not looked at the deadline, but I know that it's coming up, and I just kept this in here, just because I know that, principal evaluation committee building to meet, and this is the new tool that we're going to use. And then I realigned the principal's report to be in alignment with the revised region.
On January 10th, LSC members received, I don't know if it's everyone, folks can sort of confirm, received an email from Jose Requena, from the Office of Local Schools Council Relations, Family and Community Engagement. And the email there was an attachment on the school's accountability status and LSC authority.
I think we all got that, so I got it.
So I emailed Jose, first of all, saying thank you for sending that. This is great. But is it new? And what's it about? What do we do with this?
Thank you. Yeah, so that is new that they're sending. In the absence of school rating policy, it's one of the ways that they can communicate where the school stands. In this case, it's measuring it compared to the IER through the state of Illinois' assessment system. And so Peirce is in good standing, based on performance on the IER. And we're not a school that is at risk of being on probation or having like additional oversight from the district. And so some schools are, and so that was their notification to LSCs that this is where your school stands. And that means that like from a budgetary angle, schools that are on probation, the council is unable to approve the budget. Those budgets then become approved by the district.
And what goes into the good standing
It
determination?
was performance at a certain metric, overall students, and that we had no student groups performing in the lower percentile compared, it was like a weird metric compared to like the lowest 10% of schools.
Okay. So they have
We
a,
had low IER in IER.
Yeah.
I was curious.
However, in like the state of the school presentation, I explained that while our scores look low in comparison to the state, we're actually on par to the state.
meeting. Okay. I mean, all this to say that I haven't heard back.
Okay.
So I was trying to get like, I literally said, thank you for sharing this. This is the first time I'm seeing this document. Is this new this year? As in,
Matthew, what's the name of the email?
it is called 2023-2024 School Accountability Status and LSC's Authority. Did folks get it? I mean, it's just curiosity.
Everyone should have got it. Thank you for pointing that out. That's something that should have highlighted. When did you send that?
January 10th.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I can contact you.
So on the CIWP updates, the quarterly meeting and then priority one was discussed. So the thing that we're going to be voting on in February is the STAR metric, increasing 5% of the year.
And changing from overall to African American. Because we believe that overall metrics will improve if we see improvement among African American students and English language learners. And so emphasizing the importance that we're not losing sight of those groups.
And then I had a question about the STAR 360. How quick do we get the results from those?
Right away.
So they, like, once everybody's tested, we have them.
That's correct. That's correct. And so the bulk of testing will be completed tomorrow. And then students who have an IEP that require an accommodation will continue based on accommodations and teacher schedules. And then students that were not here will have to make them up. So within the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to complete a middle of the year data analysis.
And that's shared with all parents, right?
Yes.
That's a question I have. What's your expectation of how quickly those reports are shared, beginning of year, mid-year, and end year?
The STAR reports will probably go home at report card day, just because that's an opportunity for parents and teachers to discuss. Sometimes it's shared sooner, especially when there's interventions, but generally it's like that report card day.
Which is in April.
Correct. Sometimes, I need to check, because sometimes we've also sent out in advance, like as soon as testing is done. I think last year we did that, and then also talked about it at report card day.
Just anecdotally speaking, after the end year STAR 360 2 years ago, and not getting that until the beginning of the next academic year, and seeing something that was alarming to me as a parent, I would appreciate if there could be consideration of sharing those sooner.
Okay.
Because I know, at a teacher level, there are kids who need interventions, but then, that might differ from a parent's expectations of maybe not being in need of an intervention, but knowing what's going on.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think especially like emphasizing the
IEP and 504 and students, I think that would be helpful for families to have information just as far as like their interventions and how successful are going throughout the year versus waiting to the end of the year.
So in terms of the staffing, do we have any outstanding vacancy?
Yes, so we need somebody that can fill Ms. Cruz's leave of absence and Ms. Sanchez's leave of absence. So right now we have a sub in Ms. Sanchez's room, and then in Ms. Cruz, if we receive a sub SECA, then we're able to place in that schedule. She just went on leave of absence. I don't know that we've had a sub come in for hers.
Which grades are those?
She's in third.
Ms. Cruz is third. And Ms.
Is the
Sanchez
sub a
is-
consistent sub or is it somebody who?
For first grade?
Yeah.
Yeah, first grade is consistent sub. The challenge there is that it needs to be, to fill the position, it has to be someone that has a bilingual Spanish endorsement. And we're having a hard time finding people with a bilingual Spanish endorsement.
Sure.
Surprising.
Well, with the increase, especially now with the increase of newcomers, schools that have opened additional positions,
Yeah.
like teachers are they're finding positions.
You're saying that some schools have sort of sucked up those people?
Yeah, where you might have like a handful of people like around,
Mhm.
they're getting jobs. Like we had called 2 people today and they've already taken a job and we just received their resumes.
Now, head count is 1,112 students.
Yeah, and today 1,114.
Oh, that's right. You said it.
I mean, it's just like, it just keeps going up.
Is this compared to a couple of, I mean, how does that compare? Like, I mean,
That's high for us. We've never been that high.
Will that potentially affect our funding for next year?
Yeah, so I'm curious how funding is gonna be calculated, because they talk, it's always 20-day enrollment, but we have more students citywide, most schools
Yeah.
have more students than they had at 20th day even. So that is a conversation that the district, is having, is school funding.
I'm wondering if there's anybody that we could talk to in CPS about the fact that these hirings are hard to do because they don't have this bilingual endorsement, or at least just put it on their awareness so that in the future they could maybe onboard teachers. They could say that they're going to start taking the courses after they're hired. I have no idea if you.
No, that exists.
Okay, well.
So that already exists. So we, for instance, teachers that can speak the language,
Yeah.
but they don't have the endorsement, they just have to go take the bilingual provisional test at the state. Once that's
Yeah.
completed, they have the bilingual provisional and they have 5 years to complete the coursework. So
Okay.
that we already do. I share that with all of my teachers that
That's
speak
so fun.
Spanish, and then that has helped us have certified people. And even when I'm hiring, I look for people that like maybe don't have the endorsement but speak the language, and
Yeah.
if they're a good fit for the school, that's something that we talk about.
Yeah.
Or in your experience hiring, do the teacher prep programs that are local require that? I know when I worked at Northwestern, they didn't. And I was getting pushback from elementary school principals saying, why would we take your student teacher if they don't have, like, that's really.
Yeah, for
Along
which
with it.
endorsement?
Spanish, bilingual.
Yeah, so some universities do a better job of like preparing their pre-service teachers for that, and some, it's like a brand new realization. When I'm meeting with like candidates, especially first year teachers, I will be sure to mention that.
Yeah.
To some schools.
I just wonder I don't know if you know the answer to this, but what is the district feedback loop to those programs around that? Because
I'm not
it
sure.
was like, me going back to the program being like, we need this. And then being like, yeah, but it might carry more weight if it came from the district.
I think they have ESL endorsement on their radar, most schools, but not, I don't think bilingual endorsement. Who knows? I have one more question. But it's related to the other document you shared with us, the BHT, the behavioral health team. Should I ask that now?
You can, okay, I'm gonna just pull it up.
So in that document, which this is the first time we've gotten that, right? That
Yeah.
was super informative.
Yeah, we share it, it's not updated regularly,
Okay.
but I've shared it like in the past, but it's not like a monthly document.
Okay. That was really informative to read. The question I had was tier 2, which it seems like the majority of students are getting services around. What does that entail?
So tier 2 is more of the small groups. It's not so much the one-on-one support. We have like a menu of interventions that the team will pull from. So it could be like Miss Adu and Miss Park will have like groups of students that they'll be with on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So that would be an example of a tier 2 intervention. Individual counseling becomes the tier 3 intervention. Tier 2 could also be a check and check out, where it's still individual, but it's a quicker, more, it's like an easier thing to do and not as time intensive. Those are like the two big, like the groups, and then the check and check out are two of the big things. There might also be some type of incentive or reward plan put in place for students.
Do you happen to know, roughly speaking, of students who are receiving behavioral health services? Like, middle grades especially, I'm thinking about, do you have a sense of how many of those students are suffering like from anxiety, depression, trauma, versus any other reason they might be coming to you?
So the BHT may or may not know like medical diagnoses. So we can suspect depression, we can suspect anxiety, but we can't necessarily know that because we're not doctors. If we have a medical diagnosis, then we can go with that. But what we have to do is take the information we're given from parents and from teachers and from the students, and then develop an intervention plan based on the information that we have. There is a screener that is completed by the teacher that the team reviews, that will help them identify what the intervention should be. But we have students who have depression and anxiety that are not part of the BHT also. So of kids on BHT, I don't have a gauge of that.
With the Jackson meetings with teams that have over-referred, that's something that is still in the future, or has it begun?
They were working on scheduling those meetings, so I don't know if they've happened yet or if they're like in process.
Sometimes it's like an over referral.
So we looked at like school-wide data and then looked at grade level and teacher. And looked at what we're trying to learn, and that's where we had identified. So there were a lot of teachers that had 0 referrals. Where we were seeing one that I think was 2 by a teacher, that's where we were looking at. And then like who was referred. And then where we were seeing like high volumes of referrals at like, just like broadly at a team. Like it wasn't one person in particular, it was sort of like across the board. That's where we wanted to meet with the team as a whole, because there might be something like larger that we need to think about in terms of team dynamics and supports at the grade level.
And do you have any feedback from teachers as far as how they feel those supports are like in place?
So some people need and this is just in conversation with Mr. Jackson and Mr. Randall, some people just needed a reminder of what to refer and what not to refer. Because like there were some things that people were referring where we're like, this isn't actually a referral for Dean support. This is something that should be addressed through the student's IEP. Or like you requested Dean support, but you didn't really need Dean support because you had already completed like all of these things. So we still see your logs. You don't need to request support because you've already handled it. So just reviewing with teams and with teachers, like what should be referred and what should not be referred. And you don't need to tag Dean support if you've already handled it. So some of it is also like maybe teacher not intentionally trying to refer it. It's just the way that they logged it in the system.
Can you give me an example of what could be referred, like what activity, what behavior?
Yeah, so there's, we have a matrix that has like, these are the types of behaviors and these are things that you should do at the classroom level. Referrals become like bigger issues that impact an entire classroom repeatedly where the teacher has tried to intervene and has been unsuccessful. It could be like physical fighting with another student. It could be use of like alcohol on school grounds, which rarely if ever happens. Like fights would be something that would need to be referred. Majority of behavior should be able to be handled at the classroom level. If a student is making a racially charged comment, that's something that should be referred. Any type of harassment or bullying should be referred.
Okay. One more question on the data, particularly for the Black student. As the season goes on, from October, November, January, the percentages are increasing drastically. So I'm wondering, I don't know, do we have the data for last year? I want to see if there's some seasonal changes that are consistent.
Yeah, so this is the cleanest that our data has been.
Okay.
And the issue has been, we have not been able to access data in this way very easily, and this is the first year where we can access it like this.
Okay.
In the past, we were having to do a lot of like manual labor to try and clean up the data. And so we do have last year's data that we could look at, and it will look from just like a general perception, I think it would look very similar to this. Right before winter break, I wasn't here, but I was told that right before winter break is where there were a significant number of referrals that were happening. And post winter break, things seem to have, I mean, we've been in school a couple of weeks, seem to have like calmed down.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of as the school year progresses and the things happening in the cycle of
Yeah.
heading into.
And to clarify, the numbers that are here are cumulative for the year. So we will see the numbers increase,
Yeah.
the raw numbers.
Yeah.
Because you would never see it, you won't see it decrease. But the percentage is also helpful to
Yeah.
watch.
Oh, so it's through
Correct.
January.
Correct.
We're not saying there were 52 unique incidents in January.
No, it's 52 unique to this year.
So there were 23 then.
Correct. I can be clear on that.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for
That's what
pointing
makes
that.
sense now.
Yeah,
So essentially, October was 17, up to October 20, 29, that's it.
so 12,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
I'll clean that up, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would look extremely a lot.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's quite a increase.
Oh,
It's 2 weeks of vacation, right?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can just
what happened to that picture, baby? I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That too.
No, the school actually, I mean, and the other thing to note is that that's a 2-month difference.
Yeah.
So previously it was 1 month, and then this was November to January, which is 2 months.
Which would make sense to have fewer days at school.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so that would average to about 10 per month. Which is what we're seeing is about 10 per month.
I have a question about, it's great to see the the Black Student Union and Latinx affinity space is continuing. Is there, if anything arises from that affinity space that needs action, is there any kind of like outlet for?
Yes, so I actually just met with one of the leads of the Black Student Union to discuss some of the things that have been brought up and things that we need to think about as we move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm meeting with like the leads of those spaces when, some of it is not necessary, some of it is like student community development.
Right, yeah. I know that's not the purpose, is to like cause.
But it might, and so that's where like they're able to say, hey, this is something that we need to think about. So that relationship exists.
Got it. Through one-on-one meetings with you.
Correct, with like the team.
With the team, not the whole team.
The students may not want to meet with you, right? And these are things that they're sharing in confidence with their peers and with their team.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I wanted to ask also, it said that a high priority call list has been created. How do you determine what's a high priority?
So one is based on language and access to like the school. So people that we generally don't see as much like engagement or response from just like the emails or the paper communication. And so today phone calls are starting to be made for like the bilingual advisory council meeting on Monday. And some of like our newcomers to the US, making sure that we're making intentional phone calls to them. And both of the bilingual school assistants will be able to help with those phone calls.
So it's mainly towards English as a second language.
Not necessarily, because we do have some students that it's not language, it's just general awareness.
Yes.
And like that relationship.
That's included in that high priority.
Quick comment on the call, because I know nowadays everyone gets a lot of spam calls, but healthcare does something interesting. Whenever you get a call from a healthcare entity or a healthcare, so you can pick it up. I wonder if there's something that can be done with education. Because otherwise, a lot of people don't pick up unknown numbers.
Yeah, if people are, so if the call is made from a school phone,
Yeah.
a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people are used to seeing like a 534
Yeah.
number and then they're like, oh, that's a school.
Or 553.
What's that?
553 is the other one.
Yes, 553 is the district's number.
Okay.
But that is a good point.
Copy of this.
How does that happen? Is that like something that's?
Yeah, the healthcare entity register for, I work for a tech company where we send text messages to patients. We don't want patients to ignore those. For example, if you get a text message from Lyft, right, saying, oh, Lyft is coming, you'll get a 215, but that's where Lyft was registered. But if it's coming from the healthcare entity within Northwestern, we wanted to say Northwestern. So you can see, oh, it doesn't come from Northwestern. So it's something that entities can register for. I'm just not sure how that would work. Probably would have to be at the CPS level.
It would, district level.
Okay.
I can even know, like, ask if that's an option. I
Because
think
it's really cut down on not taking calls.
it's hard when you let new people to school that are not used to that, and so the
Yeah.
socializing of it, but once you've been in the system
Okay.
for a while, like, you generally know that.
Yeah.
Like, I know anytime my daughter's absent from school, 553, 700, and they tell me that she was absent.
Robocall.
So I think it's my radio, I get that number. Hello.
I'm not answering it. I'm just gonna send it to voicemail, I know what they're telling me.
So the entire CPS has that same number. Okay.
Yeah.
That's for district level communications, like things that are like robocalls out. But things at the school, like if we call a family, it would have 534 as the beginning number of it.
For the snow day or the cold day, was there virtual learning or
No.
was it just a day off?
Just a day off.
Is that determined by the district or just, do we not do?
That's by the district. They just don't do virtual learning for a day off. I don't know how that decision is made. It just doesn't happen.
Evanston did. I'm just laughing because Evanston did it. Other districts did it. We all know how to do it, right?
But what we don't have is the tech distribution. So every student in CPS doesn't have a device that they take home with them. Some districts have that.
Oh, okay. I thought that there were.
We have one-to-one in the school. Some schools do it. Some CPS schools do have devices that go home with the kid every day. But a lot do not.
A lot of them, they deal with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing from home, but they had their devices.
I think it's more common in high schools too.
Okay. Well, yeah, definitely if that one, then you can't have mediated virtual learning.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Even though I remember that.
Right.
Yes.
You never know.
Wait, a lot of blue.
Somebody needs to-
There's a lot of learning. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Lori. This is very helpful. I also like the new format as you have it laid out.
Oh, Peter.
So be sure to check on the principal's hours. That's not something that's
Oh,
necessary.
I do have one question. Is there a deadline for that?
I think it's in May.
Yeah, usually it's end of the year in general, towards the end of the year, both fiscal and calendar. Okay. Next item, budget element. You shared me.
Yeah. There's no
Who's with that?
request for, transfer funds. I'm sorry. But I will request to approve internal accounts for November, and then the next one will be December.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the internal accounts for the month of November.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? You. Six. Next on the agenda is public participation. My German teacher used to go like this at the audience. So checking on the Peirce LSC inbox. There was, besides the reports that were shared, there was just a little bit of back and forth from the community member that was inquiring about the elections, the upcoming elections. So there was nothing else there. It was just more, so a couple of parents just kind of coming back to school made comments about, very positive comments about the end of the year concert or performances, because they were all packed, all 4 performances. Now towards the end, because those were not grade specific, there was a little bit of a lighter audience, but people were very, very they were appreciative of the effort that was put into all of that. So it would be nice to kind of let those know. My daughter didn't tell me about what she was going to be performing, but because she knew I knew the song. And so when I heard it for the first time, she said, "Yeah, why are you here?" That was interesting.
Yeah, my parents were visiting, so I was like, "Oh, do you want to take a half day off, Abby?" He's like, "I have like 4 performances. Like, I need to be there."
Nice.
No 4 performances. Are you eating lunch?
All right. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, community group reports. Lindsay shared or requested that information. We heard back from FOP and PSO, and REP, and then just a little while back. But
Yeah, I'm just seeing the information.
yeah, so you can.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna read off what she has sent me. So the holiday teacher staff appreciation breakfast was the 21st. And PSO hosted the breakfast with me, and then they also did, because the performances, as you guys said, were going on, they did the door-to-door part like they have done in previous years. And they did breakfast tacos, which were $5.75, and all of the funds for were raised by parent donations. And then other food and beverages were donated by parents, and then PSO spent $250 for like just fruit and yogurt and beverages. And then the Peirce teacher and staff gifting also happened. The school collected a total of $16,000, which was equitably split amongst all of the teachers and staff. And then a booklet was created with thank you messages that a lot of parents submitted when they were making donations or not making donations for teachers and staff, and that was distributed via email on the last day of school. Some upcoming events that are happening, the parent mixer was actually moved. It was supposed to be next Friday, but we had a new parent volunteer to take that over, and so it got moved based on his availability to either February or March, and that is to be decided. And then the Lunar New Year Parade is Saturday, February 17th this year. PSO is not going to be organizing it, but they have pushed the information out to a few possibly interested parties to take that over. And they have all the materials ready to go if somebody's interested in taking it over. And they also have the promotional materials. So if anybody is interested, there have been a few people who've reached out and were very interested in helping with that.
Was Matthew one of them?
Which one is that? Oh, the float? Oh, yeah. We're still talking about that. I got an announcement. I know. I got an announcement.
Also, the Valentine's dance is an all-school dance that is on Thursday, February 8th from 5 to 6:30. It is on a Thursday because there's no school the following day. And the junior PSO will be involved in getting feedback from the students. While they won't be volunteering at the event because they will be attending, they're going to help us set up and creating like decorations and crafts and stuff for the event. And then the next meeting is Thursday, February 8th at 8:15 in the field house.
Thank you. Yeah, so we did hear back from Friends of Peirce, right? So so a couple of items that they mentioned. This Saturday is a fundraiser at PXM Fitness. There are several time slots from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And there's an option also to purchase a t-shirt as part of that. Apparently, I have been volunteered for that workout, so I guess I'm going. So there was a test run of a grade level fundraiser at the end of December that collected over $650. So this was encouraging. So they're thinking about doing that for future events. Kids' nights out are coming up. One January 26th is the most the nearest one. February 23rd and March 8th. And then we voted. We already got all the paperwork done for that. And then the last item here is our large community event will be on Friday, April 19th at Artifacts. The main focus is that community event. The goal is to raise $50,000 for at the event. There will be a silent auction, entertainment, appetizers, and more.
What's the name of the place?
Artifacts. So
Artifact events. We changed it. We're not.
What was the date of that?
April 19th. So right after tax day, right? So get your money, go to the fundraiser. What's that?
Some of us done did that.
Yeah, I know. It's a good reference point. Thanks for coming. Appreciate that. The next, so there was also a note from REP, and I'll go ahead and quickly mention it. So, had a great turnout for coffee event in December, and looked into RIP is looking for folks to assist in planning for an overall assessment of the needs of the community focused on racial equity, utilizing the data that has already been gathered. They're also planning a few events for the rest of the school year, and they're looking for support as well for those. So they shared the email, so rippeirce@gmail.com. And I don't know if this is going to be in the folder, right? So people can just kind of access it. Okay, perfect. I don't know if that's something that we want to do like a s'more for, or if it's necessary.
Yeah, I'm actually meeting with next week or the week after.
Got it. Thank you. Community reports. I did not hear from back, but I think they did have a meeting. There was a meeting.
They're also meeting Monday.
And then there's another, that's right. So we can pull up there. Equity committee?
We canceled December and January meetings, so I don't have any reports.
Principal evaluation, just like we said, the principal reminded us that there's a revised evaluation tool. So we'll spend some time taking a look at this, taking a look at deadlines and things of that nature to make sure that we fulfill that requirement as necessary.
That wouldn't be like by next month's meeting, right?
No, usually, and I know even this one, usually we have a survey out that we push out. So it'll be something similar, I think. It'll be,
But the survey will need to be revised because the competencies have been revised. So that will require work, and then it has to be approved by legal before that, because the previous one had been approved by legal, so that was not an issue. Yeah, that is gonna be true.
okay, all right, so.
That might have to be like done quickly
Sure.
before even.
Shared it. Yeah, for sure. I do have access to the survey master, so we'll make a copy of it, make sure that it aligns to the gets inserted, folks. So we're going to try and get that done before the next meeting, so there's enough time for folks to review it, and then push it out. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, next item, old business, we put that update on teachers rep vacancy, we always ask.
Yeah, there's nobody's expressing interest, and with that, we should add PPLC to the agenda. But there was nobody interested in PPLC. We tried to hold an election, but there was nobody that ran. And so I still need to meet with Anna. Now that I'm back out, we'll check in because we need to come up with a plan for that. We had said that if nobody's interested, her and I would at least meet to hold a public meeting on a monthly basis and then see if any of the teachers attend.
PPLC?
Professional Personnel Leadership Committee, and it's chaired by the teachers on the local school council. And their focus is to look at recommendations based on curriculum, with recommendations based on the school budget, and with recommendations on the school improvement plan to the principal. And so that becomes like the teacher's way of communicating with the LSC as a school, as a body.
Thank you. Next item is new business. I think other there, I didn't do anything. Yep.
I've gotten 2 texts during this meeting asking what the scraping noise is.
Scraping.
I had asked Art to keep the heat on because this room gets really cold when it's off. So that's what that is for this one. In the past, we've turned it off.
Gremlins are.
It's just making it hard for people to hear,
Yeah.
and it's already hard for people to hear.
Maybe we can next
When
time.
it is, it has a very.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it. I mean, everything with the other buildings, I get it. I'm trying to communicate the fact that our constituents can't hear. Yeah, they can't hear, and I think acoustics are already a challenge in this room, so I just wanted to forward that feedback.
I just was gonna mention that I'm not gonna be able to attend, I'll be out of town for next month's meeting. So if is voting, it's time for that.
Did you want to join virtually or?
I will be, I'm actually traveling on Tuesday.
I will be out of time, but I will join virtually.
All right, so how do we do that? The
It's on the
remote.
agenda. You can do by Google Meet.
Yeah, just
Okay, so
invite
you
them
can-
to the Google Meet.
Got it, perfect.
So I'll make a note to invite you specifically to this.
All right. All right, next, so I'll give you one more public participation. Real quickly. Think we're good there. Announcements, comments. I think I wanted to kind of reiterate what Lori said about applying for serving on the LSC for the upcoming period. We need you, so please consider joining for those of you who can and have the bandwidth. This is very important. The other thing also is, so we've been, it's been a couple of months since we met, and I know that Lori didn't have the chance to participate or join the other meetings, and that things were a little bit rough. So again, we'd like to kind of extend our sincere condolences for the loss. I know it's hard. Like I said, some of us kind of went through some of that or are going through it, right? So I think one of the things that you said was, I think we need a class so that we can kind of share
There is nothing
how
that
to cope with
prepares
that.
you. There is nothing that prepares you for that.
And I tell you how many journalism article ideas I have,
Yeah.
media stories, just based on my own
It's just so
experience.
interesting writing the way.
It's,
But the community and the staff have been phenomenal. And so I just appreciate the support from the community, from my team, from the teachers. Just people were so understanding. I mean, this was like over a month event that just was so uncertain. And like I wake up and I'm gonna go to work today. No, you are not going to work today. So it's just like hard, just like having these like little things. But I'm glad you've had the time with my mom.
Thank you. Yeah, so again, and then to kind of end things on a little bit of a light note here, as was mentioned, the Lunar Year Parade is happening on February 17th, and so in terms of the float idea that I've been floating around, so what we're trying to do actually is reach out to the other two elementary schools in the area to see if we can do a combined float. They did one last year, and so we will reach out to get because we started looking at different vendors. Some of them were legit, but others were. I mean, I don't know how people get in business like that, but anyway. So we'll try and get that done. I know there are time constraints and all of that. So, but stay tuned. There definitely is going to be representation. It's just more like trying to do something fun and not, it's not light, right, for this event.
Big election year too, so be careful.
What's that?
It's a big election year too, so be careful.
Oh,
who you
on the yeah.
I learned that last year.
But my idea is I'm going to be naming the who gets on the float. But we'll see. Yeah, it's last year also there was a lot of snow, so that was a little bit it impacted things a little bit. So hopefully, so the idea is to center the Asian community at large, but also make sure that the kids get to attend, that it's a fun event that they get to participate in. That's really what this is about. All right. Next to last item here, checking on the norms. Again, thanks everyone for participating. I usually keep track of people chiming in on the calls and on these meetings, and so thank you all for sharing or everything here. All right. Last item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
This is
Welcome
a
back.
6:39.
We are done.
Pretty impressive. Well, good job on getting the type going. Good job.
As long as there's a Google account, that works.
And the administrator, if you don't have,
Yes.
this really does not. Yeah. It has red tape on it.
I know. See, good. See, that's even done us like an extension cord. We're ready to go. And they're like, nope,
We get to.
not yet. But thank you for saving us. I think I see it in the recording.
Oh, because I'll get the recording, then I need to move it over. I can do that. So.
And then plus it's also live on the YouTube
Okay,
channel.
so because I'll get that, so they just put it in the like January 18th. Oh, okay, yeah, that's easy.
Okay, Matthew.
Yes.
What I can do to help you with the.
Yeah, I got.